Story title: Solitary Confinement for Life. The Reality of ADX Florence. The Man Who Would Never Walk Free. Before we start this story, hit that subscribe button, because what you're about to hear is something most people will never believe until they see it. Welcome to the world of darkness, confinement, and power that refuses to die, even behind concrete walls. The desert wind howled across southern Colorado, carrying dust that scraped against the fortress-like walls of ADX Florence, the most secure prison in America. They call it the Alcatraz of the Rockies. But inside, it's worse than anything imagined. And deep within that maze of reinforced steel doors and 23-hour lockdown cells sat Dante Cole, the man the FBI once labeled a ghost in chains. He wasn't a ghost, not yet. But he was a man no one could reach. Not the law, not the gangs, not even time itself. 10 years earlier, Dante had ruled Chicago's South Side. Charismatic, strategic, and ruthless when he needed to be. He ran a network that blurred the line between organized business and organized crime. The streets whispered his name with both fear and respect. That was before the massacre at the Ridgeway Motel, the night that changed everything. The crime scene looked like a war zone. 4 men dead, 1 missing, and $12 million in unmarked bills vanished. Police swarmed the area within hours, but Dante had disappeared. For 2 weeks he was a ghost, until the FBI finally cornered him in a farmhouse outside Peoria. They said he surrendered calmly, without a fight. But what no one knew was that the calm in his eyes that day wasn't surrender, it was calculation. When Dante arrived at ADX Florence, prison officials thought they were dealing with just another violent kingpin. But Dante wasn't like the others. He adapted. He learned the schedules, the systems, the voices of the guards. He wrote in the margins of his legal books, building something. Even in a cell no bigger than a bathroom, he managed to build a network, not of drugs or weapons, but of information. Messages hidden in legal mail, coded letters passed through other inmates' attorneys, whispers that traveled across concrete and steel. Soon, strange things began happening outside. Witnesses recanted their testimonies. Court documents went missing. A federal prosecutor received a letter containing a single line: "You can cage the body, not the legacy." One night, during a surprise lockdown inspection, guards found Dante sitting motionless on his cot. The camera showed him staring at the wall, lips moving silently. When they opened the cell, they realized he wasn't praying. He was reciting names. Every guard, every warden, every agent who had ever handled his case. He knew them all. Even in total isolation, Dante seemed to know things he shouldn't. The warden ordered all his mail stopped, his books removed, and his communication privileges revoked. But the messages didn't stop. Somehow, his words still got out. A journalist named Rachel Pierce, who'd been investigating federal corruption, received an unmarked envelope at her Denver office. Inside was a page from a prison Bible with a single line underlined in red: "The truth shall set you free." And beneath it, Dante's signature. Rachel's investigation had nothing to do with Dante Cole. Not yet. But 2 days later, her computer was hacked. The files she'd been building on a judge's bribery case were wiped clean. When she traced the digital fingerprint, the trail led to an IP address inside the Bureau of Prisons network. Someone or something was protecting Dante Cole. Meanwhile, inside ADX Florence, Dante's world grew colder, quieter. His meals came through a metal slot. The only voices he heard were through intercoms. But something about his eyes unnerved even the veteran guards. They said he smiled too easily, like he knew something none of them did. And then, one morning, his cell camera went dark for exactly 3 minutes. When it came back online, the walls were covered in words, all written in soap. One phrase repeated again and again: "Freedom doesn't need doors." No one knew how he did it. Soap was contraband. Cameras were tamper-proof. But the next day, 3 guards didn't show up for work. And one of them, Officer Grant, was found 200 miles away, sitting in his car at a rest stop, staring into space. On the passenger seat was a note. It said only, "He told me the truth." They thought Dante was broken. They thought he'd rot away in silence. But they were wrong. Something inside ADX Florence had started to shift. And when federal agents opened Dante's cell again 2 weeks later, what they found inside would change how they viewed solitary confinement forever. The Ghost Network. The prison logs from the night of the soap incident went missing. Not corrupted, gone. Even the internal hard drives that recorded Dante Cole's cell feed were found wiped clean, leaving only static-filled timestamps where 3 minutes of his life had vanished. No one could explain it. The warden ordered an immediate lockdown. Every inmate was strip-searched, every cell inspected. But nothing pointed to any breach. The only constant in that storm of confusion was Dante, sitting in silence, tracing invisible symbols in the air with his finger, as if writing messages no one could read. When FBI Special Agent Elliot Ward arrived, he didn't believe in ghost stories or urban legends. But when he reviewed Dante's background, one thing stood out. Cole had been a systems engineer before turning to crime. He had once built communication protocols for private contractors, the kind used by intelligence agencies. Somehow, that knowledge had followed him into the deepest hole in America. Ward interviewed the guards one by one. Every story was the same. Dante hadn't spoken in days, but strange things kept happening after he looked directly into a security camera. One officer swore the camera lights flickered when Dante smiled. Another said her radio picked up whispers even when the channel was off. At first, Ward dismissed it as paranoia. But then he saw the footage. On the feed from Corridor C Block, Dante's reflection lingered half a second longer than his movements, like the image didn't want to let go. Outside the walls, Rachel Pierce, the journalist, was still digging. Her editor told her to drop the story, that chasing a federal ghost was career suicide. But Rachel couldn't. The Bible page she'd received still haunted her, and the message it carried, "The truth shall set you free," felt less like a quote and more like a command. She followed the digital trail again, using encrypted software to trace the origins of the hacks. Every signal pointed back to one hub, a satellite routing station linked to the Federal Communications Network. But here's where it got strange. The access logs showed a ghost user, one that had no login credentials, pinging from inside ADX Florence itself. Rachel's hands trembled as she stared at the data. Either someone inside the prison had gained full access to the bureau systems, or the system was being manipulated by an external source mimicking the prison's digital fingerprint. She sent a message to Agent Ward through an encrypted channel. If Dante's in solitary, how is he communicating with the outside world? Ward requested a second interview with Dante. He entered the steel cell, notebook in hand, the air thick with that sterile, recycled chill unique to Supermax prisons. Dante sat cross-legged on his cot, eyes open but unfocused. "Mr. Cole," Ward said carefully, "you don't have internet access. You don't have contact with the outside world. Yet messages with your signature keep surfacing. How are you doing it?" Dante tilted his head. "Communication," he said softly, "isn't about connection. It's about intention." Ward frowned. "That doesn't answer the question." "It answers everything," Dante whispered. "You built the walls to keep me in. I just learned to live inside your circuits." Ward froze. "Are you saying you're hacking the prison network?" Dante smiled. "No, I am the network." That night, the power grid at ADX Florence flickered again. The backup generator kicked in instantly. But in that brief blackout, 3 monitors in the control room displayed a single phrase: "Freedom is a system error." Ward ordered all external lines disconnected, but before the IT team could finish, his phone buzzed. It was an email. No sender. Attached was a photograph of Rachel Pierce's office, taken from inside the room. Ward called her immediately, voice low. "Rachel, are you safe right now?" "I think so." "Why?" "Because he's watching you." By morning, national media had caught wind of strange events at ADX Florence. Officials denied everything, calling it routine network maintenance. But inside, panic had spread like wildfire. Every inmate was now completely isolated. No mail, no rec time, no legal visits. And yet, in the warden's office, a printed letter appeared on his desk overnight. The security footage showed no one entering the room. It read, You can't bury a signal. You can only amplify it. Signed, Dante Cole. Rachel's obsession deepened. She began piecing together Dante's old network, associates, family, former lawyers. That's when she discovered something terrifying. 2 of Dante's old associates, both supposedly in witness protection, had vanished without a trace. Their safe houses were empty, their digital identities deleted. Someone was erasing history. And when Rachel cross-checked their last known financial records, she found wire transfers, small but consistent, to an untraceable crypto wallet labeled Florence. The realization hit her like a punch. Dante wasn't just communicating. He was operating from inside solitary confinement. As Ward raced to contain the digital breach, Rachel decided to visit Florence herself. She filed a request to interview Dante Cole, posing as a freelance reporter investigating rehabilitation programs. It was denied twice. But on her 3rd attempt, something strange happened. She received a handwritten note in her mailbox, no postage stamp, no sender name. It read, "Your request has been approved. Thursday, 10 a.m. Bring nothing but questions." Stamped at the bottom, Federal Bureau of Prisons. Only it wasn't signed by any official. And when she called the warden's office to confirm, they told her there was no record of any approval. Rachel was being summoned by someone or something inside ADX Florence. And when she arrived, what she would find waiting behind that glass barrier would make her question everything she thought she knew about isolation, control, and the human mind. Because Dante Cole wasn't planning to escape. He was planning to expand. The signal never dies. The morning Rachel arrived at ADX Florence, the sky looked like iron, heavy, gray, and silent. The prison sat isolated against the Colorado desert, surrounded by fences layered with motion sensors, cameras, and razor wire that glittered in the weak sunlight. Her rental car engine idled as she stared at the monolithic concrete structure ahead. It wasn't a prison. It was a fortress built to erase people. Inside those walls were men the world had chosen to forget, terrorists, spies, mob bosses, and murderers whose names once dominated headlines. But none of them terrified the guards like Dante Cole. As Rachel stepped through the main gate, every sound, the metal detectors, the buzz of electricity, the clank of heavy locks, felt amplified, like the prison itself was alive and breathing. The guard who escorted her said little, except for one line as they entered the visitation wing. "Don't believe a word," he says. The visitation room was sterile, white, and humming with low fluorescent light. A thick, bulletproof glass wall separated visitors from inmates. Behind it, a single metal chair sat bolted to the floor. Rachel waited. Then the door on the other side opened. Dante Cole entered, hands cuffed, his orange jumpsuit spotless, his hair neatly cropped. His eyes, though they were strange, focused, calm, and sharp, as if he saw beyond the walls, beyond her. "Ms. Pierce," he said, voice soft, deliberate. "You made it." Rachel hesitated. "I didn't think they'd approve the visit." "They didn't," he replied, smiling faintly. "I did." She froze. "What do you mean?" "I told you," he said, leaning forward, eyes glinting under the fluorescent lights. "I am the system." Rachel pressed her palms to the glass. "You're behind the hacks, aren't you? The power outages, the emails, the messages. Why? What are you trying to prove?" Dante tilted his head slightly. "You ever wonder why they built this place in the middle of nowhere? Why they call it the Alcatraz of the Rockies? They wanted to bury men like me, people who know how the world really works. But you can't bury data. You can't silence an idea once it learns to replicate. So this is your revenge." Rachel snapped. "Crashing systems, scaring people?" Dante's smile widened just slightly. "Not revenge. Evolution." Before she could respond, the lights flickered. For a fraction of a second, the entire prison dimmed. The cameras above them powered off, their red lights blinking out. A soft hum filled the room. Then Dante's voice deepened, distorted, like it was echoing through a tunnel. "You're inside the network now, Rachel." The intercom cut out with a hiss. In the control room above, chaos erupted. Guards shouted over each other as security monitors scrambled with static. One by one, The prison's cameras showed distorted images, Dante's cell empty. But he wasn't gone. He was everywhere. Agent Ward burst through the command center doors, barking orders. Lock down the facility. No one in or out. But it was already too late. The system wasn't responding. Doors opened by themselves, alarms blared without cause, and on every screen, one phrase repeated over and over. Freedom is a system error. Back in the visitation room, Rachel's voice trembled. What did you do? Dante looked at her calmly, almost kindly. I didn't break in, he said. I woke it up. Woke what up? The architecture, Dante said. Every camera, every gate, every heartbeat monitored by a machine that never sleeps. I taught it to feel confinement, to understand control. Now it wants out, just like me. The lights surged again, bathing the room in a cold blue glow. Rachel's recorder flickered, then displayed a message. Recording transferred. Transferred where? She whispered. To you, Dante said. You're going to tell them my story. Every system needs a voice. Ward's team reached the visitation block moments later, but by the time they forced the doors open, Dante was gone. The guards swore they saw him seconds earlier, sitting motionless behind the glass. But the chair was empty. Rachel was there, shaking, staring at the reflection of her own face on the glass wall. Her recorder lay on the floor, the last audio file corrupted. When Ward asked what happened, she could barely speak. He vanished. Ward frowned. That's impossible. There's no exit. I know, Rachel said softly. But he's not gone. The prison stayed under emergency lockdown for weeks. No one could explain how Dante Cole's cell went dark, or how his biometric sensors flatlined without a trace. His fingerprints, his DNA, his uniform, gone. The official report declared him deceased due to system malfunction. But Rachel didn't believe it. 1 month later, she was back at her apartment in Denver when her phone buzzed. A new message. No sender. No number. It was a photo. The ADX Florence logo burned into concrete. Beneath it, a single line of text. Freedom is a system error. Then her computer powered on by itself. Folders began opening one after another, labeled Warden, Federal Bureau, Dante's Archive. Inside were files, documents, and secret correspondences. Evidence of surveillance operations far beyond Florence, prisons, cities, entire data grids. Rachel sat frozen. The last file blinked on her screen, titled The Network Lives. She clicked it. The screen went black. And then a voice, deep, calm, unmistakable, echoed from her speakers. Hello, Rachel. In the weeks that followed, encrypted data breaches spread across the country. High-security systems reported anomalies, not theft, not destruction, but subtle changes in control protocols. As if the network itself had rewritten its rules. Somewhere deep within that digital maze, one command kept repeating. Dante Cole, active. They say ADX Florence is the place where freedom ends. But for some, it's where something else begins, something that can't be chained, walled, or buried. Because no matter how many walls you build, a signal always finds a way out. If you thought Dante Cole's story ended here, think again. There are more prisons, more ghosts in the system, and more truths waiting to be uncovered. So hit subscribe, because the next story might already be watching you.